nigga got me with a shield. I keep the Draco nigga pointing how you talk to me. I swear to God, I'm in tears. My ex can only see me virtually. Bitch to my dog and let my dog get up out it right. I get on killed 20 times cause my money right.
Hope y'all doing well. Welcome back to the channel. So this video is gonna be a little bit more different. You know, there are a lot of tutorials on how to make these more generic trap stuff, but for me personally, whenever Young Thug hops on these tracks like Droppin Jewels, where he sings and it's a little bit more laid back, in my opinion, that's when he makes the most unique music. As you probably heard in the preview already, today's beat breakdown is inspired by that. So without too much talk, let's just jump into the breakdown. For the first sound, of course, we're gonna start with a piano, and I wanted something which is more in the back, like it doesn't have a lot of high end, like it's just a little bit more jazzy. So I open up Spitfire and I'm using this Swab soft piano, which is free. It's just 2 chords, but it does a perfect job of sounding more jazzy and melodic, and I'm gonna break it down real quick. To achieve this more jazzy sound, instead of just using basic triad chords, what I've done here is I use a lot of inversions, and I'm also using minor 9th chords. So the whole chord progression basically is a C minor 9th chord going into a G minor 9 chord. As I said, I'm using a lot of inversions, but if we break down the chords, you're gonna see how simple they actually are. So starting on the root note, if we pitch this down, we have the 3rd. If we pitch this down, we have the 5th, we have the 7th, and this is the 9th. So essentially that's just a minor 9th chord. And the way I came up with the melody itself, I just grabbed the slice tool here and I just made a couple of cuts until I just came up with the melody I like. And for the 2nd chord, again, it's just a minor 9th chord, so you can see if I do the inversions right here, we have the root note, we have the 3rd and the 5th, a basic minor triad chord, then we have the 7th, which is a minor 7 chord, and finally, to make it a minor 9th chord, I added the 9th degree. Just picked up the slice tool, I made a couple of cuts here and there, and I pitched around the notes. Piano was sounding a little bit dry, so I wanted to add some effects. The first thing I did was I added the CQ, which is taking out the low end and boosting the high end. And after that, I added the effect rack, which has a couple of effects, and I'm gonna break it down. So first off, we have this amp, which is, you know, just boosting the high end and making the sound more saturated. I wanted a little bit of delay, so, you know, the piano doesn't sound as one-dimensional, so I added Echo Boy, and I have the mix turned down to like 20%. And for the final effect, I added micro shift, which is basically like a chorus, and it just makes the piano sound wider. So with all the effects added now, the piano sounds a little bit more sweet, and it sounds like it's way more pronounced. For the 2nd sound, I wanted to layer it with something which is gonna fill out the mids. So I open up this plugin which is called Diva, and I'm using the first preset, which is Deep Space Diva. I just took the notes, I removed all the melodies, I just left the basic minor 9th chords, and I pasted them here, and they sound like this. Since the piano had a lot of low mid frequencies, I wanted to clean up the pad a little bit. What I did was I added this EQ, which is just taking out the low end and the high end, and I'm just leaving the mid frequencies right here. Since I wanted the pad to be, you know, wide and take up the whole sample, I added this Fruity Stereo Shaper, which just basically spreads the sound. Third sound, I wanted something which is gonna give a little bit more movement to the melody, and this time I'm using the synth preset, which sounds like this. And And as far as the melody goes here, I'm just using 4 notes. So like, remember, the whole point of these type of samples is you want to have the most space for the artist, because for artists like Young Thug, they sing a lot, so you know everybody knows that Young Thug uses his voice as an instrument, so you want to leave space for the artist to, you know, actually be able to sing. For the effects on this layer, I wanted to make it a little bit more wobbly, if that makes sense, so I added this chorus. After that, I wanted to shape the sound in a way which is gonna emphasize on the high mids, and it's also gonna prevent the low mids from clashing, so I went ahead and added the CQ, you know, just shaping the sound. And finally, to tuck it in the background, I added this Valhalla vintage reverb. Final layer of the sample, we're only using 4 layers. You don't have to do too much. I got this Rickenbacker bass, and I wanted a live guitar bass, which is gonna go well with the sound selection, and I lay down this bass line, which is just supporting the melody. And one thing which you should note here is, if you take a look at all these spaces here, the bass cuts out whenever this chord hits. So basically the bass cuts out wherever I have this cut. It's like another chord playing, but it's actually just the top notes of the same chord, and this kind of creates this little bounce going back and forth between the 2 layers. For the effects on the bass, I wanted to add a preamp. I went ahead and I opened up Guitar Rig 6, and I'm using this basic Bass Pro preset. When you play the whole sample, this is what it sounds like. Moving on to the drums, I wanted to go for something which is a little bit more stripped down, and it's just not as high energy as the usual trap drums you would have on beats. So I started with this kick, which plays this extremely simple pattern. I added this hi-hat, but it sounds a little bit like a shaker, so you know, just to keep this live drum vibe. And it follows this rhythm which bounces off with the kick, basic snare, and this open hat. And since the drums are so spaced out, you can actually add some effects to it. So what I did was I added this Valhalla vintage reverb, and it's only affecting the snare, the open hat, and the hi-hat. Like, you don't want reverb on your kicks. Like always, let's go ahead. I'm gonna add an acapella, and we're gonna hear how the whole thing sounds.
My nigga got me with a Shia. I keep this Draco nigga pointing how you talk to me. I swear to God, I'm in tears. My ex can only see me virtually. But you took my dog and let my dog get up out it right. Like you don't kill 20 times, cause my money righteous. Niggas can't walk about